What do you think is the public's favourite song from the Queen album, Jazz? Stay tuned to find out. So you're very welcome to the results of the Champions of Queen League for the Queen album Jazz. So for those of you who don't know what the Champions of Queen League is, it's actually a head-to-head round-robin series of polls, which is actually run on the website, Shane's Queen site, and also my X account, which is formerly Twitter. And those polls are actually run for every single song on the album, and every song gets pitted against every other song on the album. Based on the results of those polls, there's actually a number of points given to each song, and therefore by round 13, in the case of Jazz, because there's 13 songs on the album, we actually end up with a series of results which outline what the public's favourite song from that album is. Now for Jazz, we had 13 songs, and therefore every round one of those songs got an automatic buy into the next round, because you need even numbers if you're running a round robin series of polls. So for those of you who are looking at the website at the moment, you can actually see the list of round robin polls. You can see what each song was pitted against. In other words, you see Don't Stop Me Now being pitted against all the other songs, and eventually you are going to hit certain songs that are very, very popular. In other words, you're going to get Bicycle Racer versus Don't Stop Me Now, or Bicycle Race versus Fat Bottom Girls, and you're wondering which song would actually end up being the best song on the album, or the favourite song as voted by the public. So let's take a look. Before we actually look at the results, we're going to take a look at the album itself and the history behind the Queen album Jazz. But before we do that, please have a think yourself regarding which two songs you think are going to be first and second. So just take a moment, leave a comment in the description below as regards which two songs you think actually will top the polls for Jazz. So let's take a look now at the album itself. So the album Jazz is actually very, very interesting in that Queen decided to take a break from the UK for recording, and they went to France and they went to Switzerland to record the album. So let's take a look at the album itself, look through the history of the album and some of the tracks that are on it. Queen released their seventh studio album Jazz on the 10th of November 1978. It was recorded between July and October 1978 at Super Bear Studios in Nice and also in Mountain Studios in Montreux. Queen decided to record the album this way due to tax reasons, and Queen spent quite a considerable amount of time in 1978 away from the UK. The Mountain Studios in Montreux, where part of the album was recorded, would later be purchased by Queen as a tax write-off. And although they wouldn't record in the studios into the late 80s, it became part of what Queen were, and they actually formed part of the recording sessions for the album Made in Heaven. Jazz also saw the return of Roy Thomas Baker to the role of producer. Roy Thomas Baker was involved in the production of Queen's first four albums, 1973's Queen, 1974's Queen 2, and Sheer Heart Attack, and Night of the Opera in 1975. The cover of the Jazz album was actually suggested by Roger Taylor, who had seen a similar design painted on the Berlin Wall some months earlier. The finished cover was somewhat a departure from the previous Queen albums, and it had very little reference to the album's title. The album's title was actually suggested by Roger also. It was during the Jazz recording sessions that Freddie witnessed the Tour de France passing by his hotel, and this gave him the inspiration to write the song Bicycle Race. Now, as you probably know, the video for Bicycle Race is infamous. It was filmed at Wimbledon's Greyhound Stadium, and the band hired 65 female models and filmed them cycling around the track on bicycles, naked. Now, not only was the video banned in some countries, probably most countries, but Queen were asked to replace all 65 bike seats as per the demand of Halfords, the company from which Queen rented the bicycles. And if it was today, I'm sure they probably would have ended up on eBay or similar. Now, Jazz reached number 2 in the UK and number 6 in the US album charts. So let's take a look at the track listing now for Jazz. The first track, the opening track, is Mustafa, which is written by Freddie Mercury, obviously taking on board some of the themes of his upbringing, with a lot of Arabic words being put in there. But if you look at the Arabic words themselves, there's a lot of made up words. There was an analysis by somebody back in the early 2000s who actually looked at the Arabic that was being used in the song. And yes, there are some words like alaikum sabla and so on. I'm not sure if I pronounced that correctly, but anyway, there is actually a paper out there or writing online somewhere where somebody actually analysed all the words, and some of the words are actually not real words in Arabic. They are simply made up to help the song move on. But it's a very interesting opening track, and it became a fan favourite. If you actually listen to some of the early tracks, the early concerts from the era around this 78, 79, early 80s, Mustafa is used by Freddie before songs like Bohemian Rhapsody. He introduces the song, he sings maybe the opening line, and then moves on and sings Bohemian Rhapsody. Track number 2 is a Brian May penned track, Fat Bottom Girls, and it's again another huge song that is still played to this day by Queen and Adam Lambert. And it's one of those songs that has been in the news in the past few years as regards body positivity and whether or not people should have it on the CDs, that sort of thing. It was withdrawn from one of the Queen CDs recently, too much controversy. So myself, I think it's actually promoting body positivity, so I don't know why it was removed, but again, you might have your own views on that. If you do, please leave a comment. Number 3, track 3 is Jealousy, a song by Freddie, and quite an unusual song. If you're a pianist or if you're a musician, try and take a look at the way the song was written. Some beautiful chords in there. Again, typical Mercury track. Freddie will often throw in diminished chords and augmented chords into his writings, and that's one of the reasons why I love Queen, because they don't simply go with the 3-chord trick or something along those lines. They have complex songs, and Jealousy again is one of those songs, if you try and play it, there's a lot of intricate little bits in there that you kind of go, yeah, Freddie wrote that song. Track 4 is Bicycle Race, of course, by Freddie. And if you haven't already seen the piano tutorial for Bicycle Race, in the top right hand corner of the video right now, you should see a card which will actually bring you to that video, and I explain how to play the song in detail. And of course, if you don't want to see the detail, we have a card in the top right hand corner now, which actually just is the basic tutorial showing you the top down view with some chords. But as I already mentioned, Freddie wrote that song after seeing the Tour de France, past his hotel, and for me it's a bit of a fun song. I love performing that song live. It certainly brings out a lot of energy and a lot of joy out of the audience when that happens. Track 5, If You Can't Beat Them, Join Them, track by John Deacon. I actually like that song. I love the guitar riff on that song. I think it's very, very interesting. Track 6, Let Me Entertain You. And if you have the vinyl or if you've got the cassette version of the Jazz album, you will know that this ends side 1. Let Me Entertain You. Some very interesting vocals in that song. In other words, you're actually hearing Queen describe themselves. They talk about writing in Japanese. They also talk about Electra and EMI. They talk about their lighting and their sound. There's a lot of little references to Queen. It's almost like an autobiographical song about who Queen are at this stage in their career. Side 2 opens with Dead on Time by Brian May, and I actually like the guitar riff on this also. I think it's very, very energetic. I just like the way it sounds. And at the end of that song, you actually hear a thunderclap, and that thunderclap on the actual liner notes of the album, Queen have written a credit to God, because the thunderclap was recorded in Switzerland on a handheld recorder and actually put on the album. So as I said to you, it's the only time I've ever seen God credited on an album, unless there's any other albums out there have credits. Definitely on Queen, it's the only one that he's listed. So so after the thunderclap, obviously Freddie shouts "You're Dead," and again, another nice track on the album. I do like that one as well. I thought it would do quite well on the Champions of Queen League, but let's take a look later on at how that actually ended up. In Only 7 Days, another nicely penned John Deacon track describing a romance that happens over 7 days. And next then we have Dreamer's Ball, again a very popular song during the jazz concert and tour era. Brian used to play it on guitar on stage, and you probably hear it also on Live Killers. If you have that album, definitely worth checking that out. Next we have Fun It by Roger Taylor. Again, another very, very typical writing style by Roger. And then Brian May's track Leaving Home Ain't Easy. Now, I actually didn't like that song when I got the album first. It was one I skipped quite a lot, purely because I just didn't get the song. I didn't understand what the song was about. But having researched the song myself, it's actually about Brian May leaving when he's leaving his home to go on tour. That's apparently what the background of that song is. And I totally get it, because in the past 2 or 3 years, I've myself have gone away to play with the Queen tribute band Celebrating Queen, and I'm gone for about a week, and it is tough living out of suitcases. It's not great. It's all fun and games when you're actually on the road, when you're on stage and all that, but there's a few days when you're on downtime, or when you're waiting for rehearsals or waiting for a sound check, leaving home and living out of suitcase. I can certainly get where Brian May comes from. Then we have Don't Stop Me Now, definitely a huge hit by Freddie Mercury, and the definitely is one of the top hitters on the album, and it's probably going to do very well in the final poll for the Champions of Queen League. And the album ends with More of That Jazz by Roger Taylor again. And the interesting thing about More of That Jazz is that it has all of the clips from most of the songs on the album as well. So you have things like Bicycle Race and Fat Bottom Girls being mentioned in there as well, and a small little guitar section from Mustafa showing up. So there's a lot of little clips of the jazz album in the final track, summarizing the album, and I thought that was quite a nice way to do it. So this is the result of the Champions of Queen League. In last place, unfortunately, it's Funnet. Unfortunately, they lost every single round where Funnet was polled against any other song, and it didn't win any of the polls, and unfortunately Roger Taylor's song just didn't hit the mark on that occasion. In second last place, then we have More of That Jazz, and that particular song unfortunately was also a Roger Taylor song, so Roger not doing very well on the jazz album. In third last place, Leaving Home Ain't Easy. Again, I thought that this one might do better. It lost 9 and won 3 of the rounds it was polled against. Also losing 9 and winning 3 was In Only 7 Days, which is written by John Deacon. But there is more votes for In Only 7 Days than Leaving Home Ain't Easy. So there's just a disparity on the number of votes for and against in that case. Then we have Jealousy, who won 5, it drew 1 and lost 6, and then Dead on Time, winning 5, drawing 2, and losing 5. Now we're looking at Let Me Entertain You, which won 6 and lost 6. And at this stage now we're in the top 6 songs. So I'm not sure if your song is still in the top 6, that if you've hopefully left a comment below regarding which 2 songs you think might win the actual Champions League Queen for Jazz. I hope your songs are still there. So let's look at the top 6. In 6th place we have Mustafa. In 5th place, Dreamer's Ball, which actually did better than I thought it would do, but obviously it's this whole idea of the Champions of Queen League is to find out what the favourite songs from Queen fans are for each album, and Dreamer's Ball obviously is a fan favourite, winning 6 and drawing 2. But also winning 6 and drawing 2 was If You Can't Beat Them, and just a slight difference in votes cast for and against, and If You Can't Beat Them had a votes difference of 20 versus -2 for Dreamer's Ball. But again, it's not down to the number of votes for and against, it's which one wins the head-to-head between the other songs, and that is the reason why we have the polls done in this way. So here we are in the top 3. In third position we have Bicycle Race, and it's actually not third place, it's actually joined second place with Fat Bottom Girls. So the winner of the Champions of Queen League is Don't Stop Me Now, who won every single round that it was head to head against other songs on the jazz. Fat Bottom Girls and Bicycle Race simply winning 10 and drawing 1 each. So joined second place in In theory, Simply Fat Bottom Girls got more votes for than Bicycle Race. And Don't Stop Me Now, obviously, votes for was 220 and votes against 50. So definitely a conclusive winner for the jazz album for the Champions of Queen League. So thank you very much for everyone who voted. In total, we had 3,345 votes cast in the Champions of Queen League for jazz. So quite a large number of votes cast in the album. And I hope that the two songs that you thought would be top of the league actually came through. Thank you very much if you were participating in that. And of course, we've got the next Champions of Queen League coming up fairly soon as well. So thank you very much for joining me on this results special for the Champions of Queen League for jazz. Coming up on the channel, we have a piano tutorial for you and I. And thank you very much to Ian on X for suggesting that. We also have a collaboration with a UK artist from Somerset. We're going to be doing a track from the 80s. And if you have a guess at which track that is, please leave a comment in the description. Then we will have a summer break. There'll be a break of about 2 or 3 months. And when we return, we will continue on with the Champions of Queen League. And we will keep going with some more piano tutorials. And if you have a Queen song that you want to try and learn on piano, leave a comment in the description. We will certainly try and accommodate the song that you want to do on piano. And that will all take place in the autumn after the summer breaks. Thank you very much for joining me on today's video. And I hope to see you very, very soon.